It's that time again, boys and girls. It's story time. The name of our story today is entitled Mike Nero and the Superhero School, written by Natasha Melissa Carlow, illustrated by Kyle Stephen. My name is Mike Nero, and today I start a new school. Standing outside the school building this morning, I held Mommy and Daddy's hand tightly. What if this is like the last school? Will I make any new friends at all? My new principal, Mr. Joseph, met us at the front door and smiled warmly. Hello, Mikey. Shall we take a tour? We followed Mr. Joseph through the door and down the long corridor. As we walked, we saw students hustling to get to their classrooms. Walking along the hall was a boy who was older than me. He wore big, dark shades and had a long stick that beeped as he moved from side to side. What is he doing? I asked Mr. Joseph. Why don't you ask him? James, can you come here for a minute? James turned his head in our direction and smiled. Sure thing, Mr. J. James said, coming straight over to us, moving his stick left and right on the floor. Mikey, this is James. Would you like to say hello? Hello, James. I'm Mikey, I replied shyly. Mikey was just wondering, what are you doing with your stick? Said Mr. Joseph. I'm blind. That means that my eyes don't work, so I have to use this cane to make sure that I don't bump into anyone or anything. What I do is move my cane back and forth gently across the floor, so that if I feel anything in the path of the cane, I know to move out of the way. So the cane kind of sees for me. Understand? James asked kindly. I do, but if you can't see, how do you know where we were just now? You walked right over to us. That's the best part. Even though my eyes don't work, I can hear sounds really well, and I'm good at locating these sounds. So when Mr. J called my name, I was able to tell which direction he was standing and follow the sound. Whoa, that's amazing. Yep, it's pretty cool. Anyway, if you need anything at all, feel free to ask me. Okay? Don't be a stranger. Wow. Daddy, did you hear that? James is so cool. He sure is, son. Daddy responded with a laugh. We followed Mr. Joseph through the school, and he pointed out the library and lunchroom. A few students were eating in the lunchroom. When they saw Mr. Joseph, they waved their hands excitedly. Mr. Joseph waved back and began moving his fingers. Then the kids at the table started moving their fingers too. What are they doing? I asked, reaching for Mommy's hand. Oh, honey, I think these children are all deaf. They're using sign language, Mommy replied. Mr. Joseph turned back to us and said, That's right, Mikey. Would you like to say hi to them? Okay, I shrugged. I want you to touch your hand to your head as if you're giving a salute and then bring it forward like this. Hands in the air and move their wrists back and forth. That means you did a good job, Mikey. They are giving you a round of applause. Awesome. Wait, so being deaf means you can't hear, right? That's right. Does it mean you can't speak too? That's a great question, one of the students said, walking over to us. Is it true that some people who are deaf can't speak? But that's not true for everyone. Sometimes deaf people can speak like me, but their hearing just isn't the same. So we use these hearing aids. She pulled her hair back and pointed to the two little things attached to her ears. And sometimes deaf people can't hear or speak at all. So using sign language or talking with your hands gives us the ability to communicate with other people. We can even be in a room full of people and send secret messages to each other from across the room, she said with a wink. But we also love helping the students who can hear just fine learn to use sign language. That's awesome. It's like you speak a secret language. Can you teach me your secret language? Sometimes people have trouble understanding me when I speak. So maybe if I learned the secret language too, it would be easier. I sure will, she replied. I am Stacy. I think we may be in the same class. Our teacher told us we were getting a new classmate this week. Nice to meet you, I replied excitedly, grinning at Mommy and Daddy as Stacy waved goodbye. Touch me on my shoulder, Mr. Joseph asked. How are you doing there, Mikey? Is walking too much for you? I want to show you the playground, but I know it can be tough for you. He was interrupted by a little girl in front of us who was standing in the corner of the hall, covering her ears with her hands and shaking her head from side to side. She seemed very upset, and her teacher was kneeling in front of her, speaking to her in a calm, soothing voice and offering her a pair of headphones. What happened to her? I whispered to Mr. Joseph, feeling very concerned for her. That's Amy. She's an awesome little girl. Would you like to meet her? I don't know. I don't want to upset her, I replied. Why don't we check in on her for a bit and see? Hello, Amy. Is everything all right? Mr. Joseph asked kindly. I'm okay. I just didn't like the noise, Amy replied. I understand. I'll be sure to remind the other students to keep it down. Thank you, Amy replied, removing her headphones slowly. Amy, this is Mikey. He's a new student here and he wanted to make sure you were okay, Mr. Joseph said. Hello, Mikey, Amy said. I'm okay. Sometimes with my autism, I can't always handle loud noises, and the boys were pretending to drum, so I needed to get away from all the noise, Amy explained. Oh, I'm sorry, I said. Sometimes loud noises really bother me too. It's okay. I can use the headphones to help drown out the extra noise. You want to see the puzzle I'm building? Amy asked cheerfully. Sure, I replied, following her to the classroom. Sometime later, we followed Mr. Joseph out of the building to the playground area. Kids were playing on the swing sets, monkey bars, and jumping over hurdles. At the door, I stopped and looked at my parents. Mommy knelt beside me and asked, What's up, son? It's just that everyone here is so cool. They all have these great superpowers. James has a magic cane, and Stacy and her friends have a secret language. And Amy is so smart. She's building a 2,000-piece puzzle. And these other kids can run and swing and jump so well. I don't have any of that. Plus, I walk and talk funny. What if kids all make fun of my cerebral palsy here too? I cried. Oh, son. Mommy and Daddy put their arms around me. Just then, two boys ran up to us. Hey, how come you're crying? Do you need any help? One of them asked. You want to come play on the jungle gym with us? The other boy offered. I want to, but I can't because I have cerebral palsy and my muscles can't support me on the jungle gym. I responded nervously, wiping the tears away. Oh, I understand. I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, which means I can't always focus on what I'm doing, but my mom gave me this squeeze ball and it helps. The first boy replied. The second boy piped in. You don't have to feel sad. I'm really good at helping my friends. We can play another game. We just want to play with you. Do you know any good games to play? We can ask those kids over there if they would like to play too. Sure. Have you ever played Pirate King? I can teach you, I said. As the boys ran off to round up all the kids on the playground, Mr. Joseph touched me gently on the shoulder. Can I tell you something about this school? You see, this isn't a regular school. This is a superhero school. So yes, every student here has a special superpower, whether it's the students who ride in wheelchairs instead of walking, or those with special ways of communicating or thinking, or even those like Marcus and David, who can walk and talk like everyone else. They are all pretty amazing. But do you know why this school is so special? It's because every student here uses their talents and abilities to help each other out. Regardless of how we look on the outside, that's what makes us superheroes. And do you know what, Mikey? I stared at him in wonder. You have the greatest superpower of all, kindness. the ability to see the best in others and to make other people feel loved and included. Now, Mikey, I want you to be a superhero and use those powers to make as many friends as you can and to help everyone that you can. And I promise you, you will realize that no matter what difficulties we may have, those we can see or those we can't see, we are all trying to do our best. Even me. Mr. Joseph raised his pant leg. Instead of a regular leg, there was a shiny metal leg. Mr. Joseph had a bionic leg, just like Captain Courageous from my favorite cartoon. Whoa, that's so cool, I cried out. Yeah, it's pretty cool, Mikey. And so are you. You are my very own superhero, and I'm trusting you to be a good example to all of your fellow students here. Nodding my head bravely, I said goodbye to my parents and Mr. Joseph, and walked over to join the group of students who were waving me over excitedly. I looked around at all my new schoolmates. It was time to get to work, making some new friends. The end.